Hey, how's it going, Fins fans? It's your boy Dillon again, and I'm coming to you with a special edition of Dolphins with Dillon. We have some breaking news. It's been out for a little bit now today, for probably about an hour or so, a couple hours maybe, and things are kind of heating up with it. So I decided that I'm going to make a special edition of the podcast for this particular thing. So there's a lot going on. Alright, so basically what it comes down to is we all know what happened with the NFL's policy on the anthem, okay? The Miami Dolphins were one of the very first teams to begin training camp, right? To have their players start reporting back to camp, which as of yesterday, right, the rookies have officially reported in, and, you know, the cogs are turning, the wheels are moving, and things are going. Well, so they had to release their disciplinary policies, I guess, or whatever, to the league in advance to, you know, their players reporting, and that includes their anthem policies. So there's some reports out, there's tons of reports out, and I'm going to go over some stuff with you, so I'm just going to get right to it. This first article, I'm just going to read one article, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff to add to it. But this article by Bleacher Report, Dolphins reportedly say all options on table for anthem protest discipline. The Miami Dolphins could be taking steps that would prevent any of their players from protesting during the national anthem. Per Rob Mahdi of the Associated Press, the team provided a policy document to its players this week stating they could be subject to fines and or a suspension of up to 4 games if they, engage in protests prior to games this season. Per ESPN's Jeff Darlington, the Dolphins submitted a discipline schedule to the NFL as required by league rules, but have not yet finalized official discipline measures for players who might protest during the national anthem. Darlington added the Dolphins have no intention of suspending a player 4 games for protesting, and yet they still don't know if or how they will handle discipline. We will address this once the season starts, and all options are still on the table, the Dolphins said via Adam H. Beasley of the Miami Herald. I need to slow down a little bit. Dolphins owner Stephen Ross has been adamant about players on his team standing during the national anthem. All of our players will be standing, Ross told Christian Redd of the New York Daily News. According to Mahdi, the policy labeled Proper Anthem Conduct is part of a 9-page discipline document that features a list of conduct detrimental to the club, which includes protests during the anthem. The NFL adopted a new policy in March that states all players and league personnel on the field prior to games must stand when the national anthem is played. Players and league personnel are given the option to remain in the locker room if they don't want to stand. If players protest on the sidelines, the team is subject to fines from the league, and teams have the option to fine players. Okay. Let's see. Alright, so here we go. I'm just going to run through a bunch of stuff here. AP Newsbreak. Miami Dolphins to discipline players who protest during national anthem with suspensions, fines, or both. I'm actually going to read that one too, because that was the first one that I read. Was it this one? No, that's not it. Whatever. Anyway, next. Miami Dolphins to discipline players. Jonathan Jones retweeted the Associated Press's breaking Miami Dolphins to discipline players who protest during national anthem with suspensions, fines, or both. And with that, he put Stephen Ross with a question mark, because Stephen Ross has said, he did say something about all our players will be standing, but he didn't intend for it to come out. I believe he didn't intend for it to come out like he meant that was going to be a policy necessarily. And he did say later on that he didn't necessarily mean it that way, and that he supports his players. I mean, he's got the Rise Foundation, you know, and he does all kinds of things for equality and stuff like that, you know, so, and he says he supports his players, and that's one of the reasons why I love the Dolphins and the team and the organization, because they do stand up for, you know, social justice and, you know, equality and blah, 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 right? So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, you know, Stephen Ross does support the players and doesn't, you know, impose any kind of sanctions or fines or anything on them. That would be kind of shitty, and I I would personally be a little bit disappointed about that. All right, Natalie Weiner, at Natalie Weiner from Twitter, she replied to AP NFL's AP News Break. The same thing, she replied to that, and she said, "What's the sound of a bazillion GoFundMes being launched?" Next, Sports Center. Breaking: Miami Dolphins players who protest on the field during the National Anthem could be suspended for up to 4 games under a team policy issued this week. A tweet by APL NFL. AP Newsbreak. Miami Dolphins. Okay, got that. Tweet by Joe Shad. AP Newsbreak. Dolphins anthem punishment includes suspensions. Then he says down the it's whatever. Let's see. A retweet of the Associated Press's breaking news. From Greg Auman. I checked with Bucks, and team spokesperson said he's not aware of any team-specific anthem policy in place for Tampa Bay. Okay, we don't really care about that. Charian Williams retweeted to AP NFL's breaking news. Kenny Stills has said he might keep kneeling. And that's another thing, too. I mean, Kenny Stills, Jordan Phillips, I think maybe a couple other guys, have talked about that. They are not happy with the NFL's policy, and they said that they might keep doing things. Frankly, I think the entire team should kneel together. Bottom line, point blank, period. Just the entire team kneel together. They can't all be fined and suspended. I guess they could all be fined, but they're not going to suspend the entire team. And there needs to be a statement, I think, a powerful yet peaceful statement. And they need to, which needs to say, look, we're not gonna fucking, we're not gonna cower behind the oppression. We're not gonna fear the oppression. We're not gonna stand, silent. We're gonna kneel loudly, right? We're gonna tell the world, hey, listen, there's some fucked up shit going on, and we're gonna fucking fight to change it. Anyway, retweet to the AP Press is breaking. Controversy continues by Adam Schefter. Repeat by Albert Breer. Or retweet to the Associated Press's breaking news. The idea this would put the focus back on the field was silly from the start. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? So, the NFL makes this policy, right? And what do you think is going to happen? I mean, this is absolutely crazy. They completely fucked this up. So you're telling these players now, you can't do anything on the field. You can stay in the locker room. Well, guess what? That's not really protesting then. Because it's not visible. It's hidden. It's tucked away. It's swept under the rug. When you protest, it's made to, bring things to the forefront of people's, minds and put it right in front of their faces. Not say, oh, seriously, what the fuck is the point of that? That's crazy. So, I mean, he brings up a good point. A retweet by Troy Rank to AP's breaking. The story is not going away. I am interested to see how it impacts locker rooms' chemistry. Will mistrust between players and management affect play on the field? Who knows? Who knows? It's a good question, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Will Manso tweeted, AP reporting that the Dolphins will enforce a new policy this season called the Proper Anthem Conduct. Players who protest on the field during the National Anthem could be suspended up to 4 games, be hit with a fine, or both. And Mina Kimes retweeted that with, Jameis Winston was suspended 3 games for groping a woman. So, obviously she's a woman, and, so it makes sense she was the one to say something about that, but she has all right to, and it makes total sense. Jameis Winston suspended 3 games for sexually abusing somebody, but players could be suspended for up to 4 games for protesting peacefully on the issues of social justice, things that have absolutely nothing to do with patriotism. And in fact, if you wanted to say they have anything to do with patriotism, they embody patriotism, what patriotism really is, truly is, standing up for what's right. And when things are not right, when things are terribly wrong, putting your foot down and saying, hey, we're not going to stand for this any longer. It's absolutely crazy. Tweet by Adam Beasley. Kenny Stills and Jordan Phillips both knelt before the anthem in 2017. Neither was pleased, shall we say, with the new rule when we asked them about it back in spring. Kevin Jones retweeted to the AP breaking. The Dolphins care more about their players' peaceful protest than they do about actually winning football games. The NFL's anthem policy is one of the dumbest decisions the league has ever made. Robert Klemko retweeted Will Manso's tweet. I just want to live long enough to see us stop confusing obedience with patriotism. Exactly. Like, come on, man. It's absolutely fucking stupid to turn social injustice. I mean, but all it really does is just go to show, again, one, the ignorance of people, and two, Donald Trump's blatant racism, among other things, because he's a misogynist, so chauvinistic pig as well. I mean, come on. Anyway, that's a topic for my other podcast. But seriously, I mean, that's why the NFL policy was so, part of why the NFL policy was so stupid, because they're just, they're fearing Donald Trump because they feel like somehow or another, or some way or another, he's going to end up affecting, ratings or sales or something, right? Because he's going to charge his base, and then they're going to protest the NFL because they're letting... That's silly. So you're going to have a bunch of white redneck bigots protesting the NFL because there are players of color on the field protesting against social injustice. Let's stop and fucking think about that for a second. So, you're going to have a bunch of ignorant fucking people protesting an organization for allowing their employees, or for their employees, because this was before there was any allowing or not allowing, but for their employees protesting, I don't know, terrible things being done to them, horrible, atrocious, ugly, disgusting things being done to them because of their color, their skin color. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here. Let's see. Kevin Jones retweeted AP's breaking and said the Miami Dolphins are actually going to prioritize spending their players for peacefully protesting over winning football games. The NFL should be God damn. I'm so excited about this I can't even talk. Should be humiliated for how they've handled the national anthem. Nora Princhati, highly doubt this stops with the Dolphins. NFL retweet, breaking, Dolphins will fine or suspend players who protest national anthem. Steve Weish tweeted, going to be very intriguing if the Dolphins anthem policy, which supposedly could include suspensions, is an outlier for the first domino of more teams establishing similar policies. One thing assures, #this ain't going away. It's not. I mean, this is a topic that is going to persist and continue. Michael Giardi retweeted Associated Press's breaking, and on it goes. Pro Football Talk tweeted Dolphins threaten suspensions for anthem policy violations. Sort of. And then with an article. Tom Pellisario retweeted AP's breaking news. Under the CBA, the maximum discipline for conduct detrimental to the club is a fine of 1 week's salary or a suspension of up to 4 games. Very rare for any player to be suspended 4 games for anything. Julian Edelman just got suspended 4 games and upheld for PEDs. But that makes a lot more sense than peacefully protesting. Eric Edholm retweeted AP's breaking, saying, apolitical musing here. What if they all kneel together? And yes, that means you too, Brock Osweiler. Ha ha ha. Well, that's what I personally think they should fucking do. Connor Orr tweeted, so here's what the CBA allows teams to do under conduct detrimental. The AP reporting that Miami Dolphins will consider anything not deemed proper anthem conduct to be such. Conduct detrimental to club. This is what it says. Maximum fine of an amount equal to 1 week's salary and or suspension without pay for a period not to exceed 4 weeks. This maximum applies without limitation to any deactivation of a player in response to player conduct other than a deactivation in response to a player's on-field playing ability, and any such deactivation, even with pay, shall be considered discipline subject to the limits set forth in this section. The non-injury grievance arbitrator's decision in Terrell Owens Terrell Owens, November 23, 2005, is thus expressly overruled as to any club decision to deactivate a player in response to the player's conduct. Okay. Moving on. Albert Breer retweeted that, having said, I haven't seen the doc, but if the team listed it under conduct detrimental without specific sanctions included, it by rule could be anything from a fine to 4 games. Kevin Jones tweeted, blame the NFL more than the Dolphins. They actually thought giving teams the option to fine or suspend players for peacefully protesting was a good policy to adopt. This league keeps tripping over itself. So true. Jeff Darlington tweeted, sources with Dolphins and NFL say Miami merely submitted annual discipline schedule as required by league at dates set in conjunction with camp. Dolphins are among first to report for camp. They have not finalized any objective discipline measures for protesting during anthem. He then tweeted, Dolphins submitted the same discipline schedule that all other teams will also submit, outlining what could be considered conduct detrimental to the club. It declares vague maximums. I'm told this is not a public declaration of intentions to suspend for protests during the anthem. Albert Breer tweeted, I'm told the Dolphins simply put the anthem policy on the books under conduct detrimental. Other things fall into that category are curfew, punctuality, motorcycles. NFL policy says conduct detrimental punishable up to 4-game suspension. Not that it necessarily will be that severe. Jeff Darlington tweeted, one thing that should be made abundantly clear, Dolphins source says the team has no intention of suspending a player for 4 games based on any type of anthem protest. They don't know how they'll discipline, but nobody internally believes 4 games is even close. Adam Beasley, from a Dolphins source, the NFL required each team to submit the rules regarding the anthem before reporting for training camp. Since the rookies reported on Wednesday, the Dolphins had to have a policy in place. We will address this once the season starts and all options are still on the table. Let's see. The RISP-O-meter, it's interesting, tweeted, the Dolphins players can own this moment and all protest in unison. The front office can't suspend their whole team. Sarah Spain retweeted that and says, it seems unlikely every player will be in on that, but a high enough percentage of players could certainly put them in a tough position. Easy for us to say, tougher for them to do, but I absolutely think they should. So do I. And if the team doesn't really have any intention of suspending players and shit, then they should, and they're only doing that just because they have to comply with league rules and shit, which I hope is the case, that would be great, then they should kneel as a motherfucking team, including ownership. God damn it. Ah! Okay, here we go. Sean Wagner McGow tweeted, it's still noteworthy that the Dolphins chose to include peaceful anthem protests under conduct detrimental to the club, even if they haven't decided if they actually suspend players for doing so. It's true. Mina Kimes retweeted that and said, and now we ask, will any team refrain from doing this? The Jets, Eagles? Let's see. Natalie Weiner tweeted, this is obvious, I'm sure, but I'm with Kenny Stills. Yeah, I'm with him too. Eugene Fournette tweeted, don't care what anybody says or reports, there's no way the Dolphins or any NFL team is going to suspend a player if they kneel for the anthem. What if the quarterback or a valuable starter kneels? A fine, sure, but missing games? No. We'll see. I mean, we shall see. Pro Football Talk has an article clarifying all options are on the table for anthem policy. Technically, the list of 2018 work rules given by the Dolphins to their players says the suspensions could be imposed for violations of the new anthem policy. As a practical matter, this doesn't mean that Dolphins players automatically will be suspended for violating a league policy that requires anyone inclined to protest during the anthem to stay in the locker room. For a team source, no decisions have been made as to the punishment that the Dolphins will impose when players violate the new anthem policy. All options are on the table, the source said. The team was required to put together a list of rules, and like most work rules, few articulate a clear, set formula for how discipline will be imposed. It's entirely possible that the Dolphins will utilize progressive discipline in this case, beginning with a fine, escalating to a greater fine, and eventually resulting in a suspension, maybe for only one game, if he continues to violate the anthem policy. Regardless, the notion that any Dolphins player who violates the new anthem policy automatically will be suspended 4 games is incorrect. Instead, a 4-game suspension for conduct detrimental to the team represents the maximum discipline that the Dolphins or any other team can impose on a player. They could just not even do anything to him, which is good. I mean, and if, like I said, if obviously, regardless of what their intentions are, they have to do these, you know, make these franchise club policies, you know, because the NFL, the league requires it. So if that's the case and they don't really intend to do anything to their players, then they should make statements by kneeling with them. Let the whole fucking team kneel. The entire team kneel. Kevin Nogo, I'm guessing all of the teams do the same thing and just add it to the conduct detrimental clause to ensure it aligns with league policy. Don't see the Dolphins actually suspending someone. Jim Trotter tweeted, from a Dolphin source, the NFL required each team to submit its rules and the anthem before its players reported to training camp. The Dolphins fulfilled that requirement, but will address this issue once the season starts. All options are open. Yeah, so, I mean, shit, man, this is crazy. And I just made a fucking video about it. Anyway, so, I mean, it's not going to go away. That's for absolute certain. And, I mean, you can definitely look at this on many different fronts in many different ways. I personally hope that, you know, my team sticks to the things that they've always been doing, one of the things I've loved them for, and takes care of their players, backs their players when they're doing the right things. And, you know, I would love to see the entire team kneel together with the owner, Stephen Ross, down there. The entire team, the coaching staff, the owner, general manager, you know, Mike Tannenbaum, VP of football operations, all of them. Get them all down there and fucking kneel and say, we're not gonna lay down, you know, and just take this bullshit from Trump and the league. Fuck that. Alright guys, well, this is going to end my special edition breaking news edition of, I said edition a couple times there, of Dolphins with Dillon. So I hope you liked it. I hope it was helped you to be informed of what's going on. And sorry I was such a fluster. I had to do it. I've been reading all this stuff. I just scrolled through all these tweets and so on and so forth. I was like, you know what, I gotta make a video. So I did. If you like it, share it, comment on it, you know, tell me what you think, you know, how you feel about it, so on and so forth, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again soon.